Okay, so I really need to get this place together. Spring is basically here and it is time. So I need to figure out where to put everything. And that for me is very overwhelming. As you can see, I have this set of shelves, some plastic containers, and then everything's in the box. So I'm going to have to go through each box. A lot of this stuff is mainly for the ages related. So let's see what this one is again. Okay. So this is very interesting. This is an order I received from Portugal. I actually went to Portugal to go check on this order. If you could believe it or not, I was talking to this production factory guy who we connected over Instagram, and we talked for 10 months. I sampled with him, placed a very small order, and I even flew to Portugal, and the order did not come out correctly, if you can believe it or not. This style, it looks really cute at first glance, but you can see it's like dented and stuff. And then he made each one, something on my nail. He made each one with rips, so clearly that's not saleable. So yeah, this is a guy I spent 10 months, if you can believe it. This style came out pretty nice, except the handles are floppy, which is nothing like the samples I sent him. This is actually the style that came out the best. It's a beautiful bag, but you could see on some of the piping there's staining. And then there's one more. There's this style, which is a completely different fabric than the fabric that I approved the sample on. It still came out cute, but the quality is way, way lesser than my typical bags of this style, and I'll show you. And yeah, you can see there's even some discoloration there. But yeah, it's pretty evil, for lack of a better word, what this guy did. And actually I connected with a brand from New York who actually moved to Portugal, and he did the same thing to them. Okay, so I want to show you the difference. So here is the sample I approved. A completely different construction. The straps are clearly filled and upright, mimicking the sample that I sent them to emulate and reproduce. This is what they sent me. No filler, nothing in there. You know, it's insane, quite honestly. And again, here is the sample. It actually wasn't fully approved, but this guy took so long and stole so much of my time that things were still pending. It was an order of only 40 pieces of 10 of each of these styles. And when I had gone to Portugal thinking it would, you know, be helpful to see, helpful to meet, and beneficial for a working relationship, it was the total opposite. It went to shit. So yeah, you can see all of this rippling. They used a totally cheap filler. This sample, even this, you can see, I can show you the other version, the appropriate version. of this style, here's one. You know, the top needs to be at least flush across, you know. It's okay if there's a little bit of an opening, but that's an appropriate sample. So I honestly don't know the moral of the story. My guess, I don't know, would be, unfortunately one of these broke as I was trying to take it out. That sucks. But what is the moral of the story? I guess if something doesn't feel right and it takes abnormally long, you know, abort the situation. I had started working with this guy in Portugal because I was looking for a reprieve from American production. And here in the US, first off, for fabric bags, that is a tough call, you know, because most places specialize in leather. And for fabric bags, it's a specialized thing, especially because my bags are structured. Typically fabric bags, they don't really have a structured filling, and so that complicates things further in the production process. So I needed a reprieve because I had been through 1, 2, 3 factories. It's a very unstable industry, let's say. And so yeah, I'm putting all of my, you know, perfected samples in here. I might move them to one of these. I probably should switch it. And then I'll put the so-so samples in here. But anyways, it is a very unstable industry. And yeah, but a crazy story about when I went to Portugal. So the morning that I took a trip, I was in, where was I? In Porto, and I ordered an Uber to drive me 40 minutes outside of Porto where the factory was. And I was so nervous that morning, A, because, you know, I was by myself, B, because I'm, you know, meeting these people, this guy for the first time, and I, you know, it was already kind of weird. And I get to the address he gives me, and it takes us to a gymnasium in a totally desolate, isolated kind of place. And I get out of the car, I'm looking around, and the Uber driver, thank God, waits for me. He notices something is off. So he sees me waiting and looking around, and I walk back up to him. I say, "Oh, thank you so much for waiting. I have no idea what's going on. This is an empty gym, you know?" So I call this guy named Antonio, and he sends me a new address. So he gave me the wrong address. And as we're pulling out of the abandoned gym, as the Uber driver is making a U-turn, I look to the wall, and there is a spray painted image of a devil, of like a demon. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Thank God that guy waited for me that day, because I was so nervous. My stomach was in knots, and that guy was a guardian angel for that day. So anyways, he takes me to the new address, and he takes me to an address that is a completely different factory. It's a factory, I don't know if I should say the name or not, but huge factory where they produce humongous volumes of orders of belts and leather goods and stuff. They work with the biggest, big brands, whatever. And I'm like, why would he take me here? It's like, I don't get it. He introduced me to the factory owner, and then he introduced me to a woman who had been working on my order this entire time, named Rochelle or something. And I had no idea of her. So, and then he finally, after that, took me to this small factory who made this order apparently. But then when I got there, he told me that the original factory who had made the samples I just showed you before, these had closed down. And even crazier, he told me that the factory owner, they closed down because her brother had previously committed suicide or something, and she couldn't stay open anymore. So just craziness. So they moved it, and that's probably why it took forever. They moved this order to some other factory. They were making these while I visited, which these came out very nice, but you can see little things. And I'm seeing them, make these samples, figuring my order, it's only 40 pieces. That should take no longer than 3 weeks. It took about 3 months. And then, I got this, finished when I got back, and, they came out totally unsaleable. So, total lunacy. And now I am at the point, actually today was kind of a big day. It's March 9th, I believe, Monday. And so I have been talking to a large retailer, to Nordstrom, for quite some time. The fashion director followed me on Instagram. I didn't even notice until I don't even know when, but last summer, like late July 2025, I noticed, and I'm like, oh my God. So I messaged her as soon as I noticed, and we got to talking. I sent her line sheets, which is like a catalog of all of my styles, and a lookbook. The line sheets have the pricing and the specs. The lookbook is more like aesthetic. And then she connected me with the buyer, and I sent the buyer samples, which was another fiasco. I sent the samples through UPS, and then the samples stopped tracking, and this buyer's super busy, so I couldn't, really get in touch for a bit, and then she had to review them. The whole process took close to 2 months, I want to say. And anyways, she said she likes the line. She would like to place an order. And she had me put together a grouping of styles I think would be good for Nordstrom. So many of them are in here. Not that, but I included this one, but she said it wasn't good for this order. But, here's one of them. Here's one of them. I'm going to be changing this to black piping. Here's one of them. Anyways, the whole process took from July 2025 until March 9th of 2026 to get an order. And I've never, dealt with that before. So long story short, things take a long time sometimes. And the last I heard from the buyer is that, it was just recently market week, and she's waiting on her planner to approve the order. And that's where I am now. So if, when I get this order, I went through a period of time since I got this order. So let's say like all of 2025, basically, where things were really, really so slow. It was almost a comedy, a tragic comedy. And, For the Ages can live on through this order. So this is a big step. But anyways, I'm selling these at lower pricing than I normally do, because they still are beautiful design and they still are pretty good quality for fabric. I personally wear them myself, and I want to try and find some boutiques. I think I have, like, this is the bag I've been wearing myself. I think I found some boutiques who could be a good fit to sell some of these, because, these deserve, to let their beauty shine. They're not going to be held back by some evil guy who tried to sabotage my brand for whatever reason. I don't know what his reasoning is. If it's, total incompetence or whatever prejudice he has, I don't know. But For the Ages is for the ages. So let's see what I can do with these. These I will not sell in a traditional sense. I don't know what to do with these because of the little rips on each sides. Maybe you have some ideas, or I don't know how to approach that, quite honestly. And the crazy part too, which is like, it's like painful in a way, because this is my life, this is my joy, other than my sweet baby. There's no other word but disrespected. My time, money. But when I got this order, I'll show you a picture. On top of the box, there was a piece of liner paper that they use in the factory for various things, I don't know. And they had used a piece that they had walked all over, as you could see here. And for me, that was like a sign, like, oh my God, they really are like hateful or something. I don't understand it. So that is my story. But you know what? There is consolation about, with the brand that I talked about, because I had reached out to this brand asking their experience with this Portuguese factory. And they confirmed it, and they actually wrote me about a month ago saying their most recent order, totally, they can't even sell the bags because they screwed it up that badly. When it happened, I was like, I'm going to put a picture up of this guy and I'm going to make him pay. I actually did write, I forget what agency in Portugal, to file a formal complaint, a business complaint, but they said that I need to hire a lawyer and do it that way. So this is all vintage and stuff that I'm selling. But yeah, that's a quick, semi-quick little saga story. You look at something like, cute, pretty bags and you think, oh, cute, pretty, but the journey that it takes to get to the final, to this, it's literal blood, sweat, and tears. It will demand, but going forward, I hope to not have that experience. It shouldn't and it can't be this hard, It can't.